Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer of words, recorder of videos, and lover of year-end top 10 lists. Welcome to my personal top 10 video games of 2020. If you want to check out my full list of personal accolades like most disappointing game and best art design, as well as the comparison of my most anticipated games list that I wrote back in January, check out my full post at roguewatson.com. Now before we begin, please realize I did not play every game that released in 2020, including major games that I would still like to play. For example, I only just recently got code for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, so rest assured games like that will not be on this list. But as of right now, here are my top 10 video games of 2020, starting with number 10, Streets of Rage 4. Side-scrolling beat-em-ups were all the rage in the early 90s, and the Streets of Rage series was always the best. In fact, I still own my copy of Streets of Rage 3 on the Sega Genesis. Streets of Rage 4 is the beautiful marriage of classic game design with modern sensibilities, like retrying a level at the cost of a lower score rather than a game over screen. Fun story, attractive art, unlockable skins, and a killer soundtrack makes this everything I wanted from a sequel in a series I didn't know I wanted more of. Number 9 is Monster Train, which is this year's Slay the Spire, a roguelike deck builder that sucks hours of my life as I unlock new cards and try new strategies. Unlike Slay the Spire, Monster Train focuses on fewer but more meaningful battles with 3 different lanes to play monsters and spells to defend against those awful angelic armies. Multiple factions focus on different strategies like the tanky defensive awakened or the spell-focused Stygians, and each run includes choices on upgrades, artifacts, and random events. One thing holding it back, it's currently only on PC, and this would make an awesome Switch game. Number 8 is Journey to the Savage Planet. Now, I'll forgive you if you missed this first-person sci-fi adventure back in January, but no, this Journey to the Savage Planet is one of the best games of the year. It's basically Metroid Prime with a much cheerier disposition and focuses on exploration over combat. It's a Metroidvania where you gradually acquire upgrades and new tools to explore new regions and alien landscapes filled with secrets. It's also legitimately funny and features 2-player co-op. It's one of the most underrated games of the year. Number 7 is XCOM Chimera Squad. Chimera Squad was the biggest surprise for me this year. An XCOM spin-off that was only $10 on release, Chimera Squad replaces the custom killable soldiers of the main series with integral party members, each with their own set of skills, not unlike an RPG. The story is set in an interesting post-war time period that sees aliens and humans trying to work together amidst domestic terrorism. The scaled-down combat still leaves me wanting a proper XCOM 3, but Chimera Squad remains a successful and enjoyable spin-off. Number 6 is Desperados III. Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun was on my top 10 list back in 2016, and developer Mimimi returns with Desperados 3, which is basically the same real-time stealth tactics game, but in a Western setting. The story and characters continue to impress and keep me engaged, and each of the large, lengthy missions are intricately designed for multiple viable strategies. With lightning-fast reloads, it's a stealth game that rewards experimentation and puzzle solving. Number 5, Cyberpunk 2077. Now, a lot has been said about this game. The oft-delayed, open-world, sci-fi RPG shooter launched with a bevy of bugs that unfortunately set a new low standard for pre-orders and rendered the last-gen console experience nigh unplayable. Thankfully, I've been playing on a mid-range PC, and despite some glaring flaws and limitations, I'm enjoying the hell out of this game. Night City features a ridiculous amount of content on every city block, the perk system makes leveling fun, and I'm really enjoying the main campaign and all the quirky characters I get to work with. This is not Cyberpunk via Skyrim or even Grand Theft Auto, and the hype was grossly misplaced, but it's well deserving of a spot on my top 10 list. Number 4 is Ori and the Will of the Wisps. It's been 5 long years since I fell in love with Ori and the Blind Forest. The sequel meets and exceeds all my expectations with the same lovely art style and emotional storytelling of a forest spirit on a grand adventure. The sequel maintains the fluid platforming that defines the Metroidvania series while providing a ton of new abilities and weapons and the welcome feature of quickly swapping loadouts. We're also provided with a much richer world with actual NPCs to interact with and complete quests for, along with a hub area to build up and earn rewards. It gives me exactly what I want, along with welcome new features. It's the definition of an excellent sequel. Number 3 on my top 10 list, is Immortals Phoenix Rising. Yes, Immortals Phoenix Rising is Ubisoft's unapologetic clone of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It says something about my gaming taste when Immortals ranks number 3 on my Game of the Year list, and Breath of the Wild, by the way, was number 1 my Game of the Year in 2017. It just checks all the right boxes for a Zelda-like open-world adventure. There's dozens of mini-challenge dungeons, a nearly endless parade of collectibles that increase health and stamina, and a colorful world with the perfect amount of distracting content at every distance. The writing is also delightfully funny and cute thanks to our omniscient narrators, Zeus and Prometheus, and Greek mythology is always a fun theme to explore in a game, and that will be coming into play a bit later. My number 2 Game of the Year game is Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Xenoblade Chronicles technically released back in 2010, but this HD remaster released this year, and I played it for the first time, and it's making my top 10 list, damn it. While I loved JRPGs back in the 90s, I've pretty much fallen off since then with very few exceptions. I did adore Xenoblade Chronicles X back in 2015, and with this Definitive Edition, I finally have a good excuse to experience the original game. I was not disappointed. I love the MMO-style zones and real-time cooldown-based combat. I did miss the bigger open-world, giant mechs, and plethora of exchangeable party members of Xenoblade Chronicles X, but the original features a much better story with more memorable characters. I recently picked up Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as it's looking like I've finally found a modern JRPG series that I enjoy. Number 1, with a bullet, Hades. Hades! I've been a fan of Supergiant games since Bastion, and both it and Transistor made my Game of the Year lists in their respective years. Pyre fell short for me, but Hades has to be my new favorite game from one of the best indie developers around. Hades is a roguelike arena brawler. As the angsty son of Hades, Zagreus is trying to escape the underworld. On each run, you can choose from one of 6 weapons, acquiring many different abilities, buffs, and bonuses from Greek gods and other infamous characters. In a smart evolution of the roguelike genre, death is common, but the story marches forward as you learn more about Zagreus' plight and the tales of those around him. Supergiant's exemplary art, music, and character design has never been better. Who would have thought an indie roguelike would feature one of the more gripping stories of the year? Even successfully completing a run doesn't end the story, motivating me to continue to talk to my compatriots, unlock more abilities, and experiment with an endless combination of weapon attacks and bonuses. Thank you all for watching. Let me know your favorite game in the comments. Check out my expanded list of end-of-year awards at roguewatson.com, and have a happy new year.